Let's do a relationship advice reading. This one posted by Basic Pitches. My boyfriend thinks I might be gay because of my hobby. Depends on what the hobby is, really. So for some background, I, 25 female, have always been a sports fan. Football, baseball, but basketball has always been my favorite. When I was 19, I started dating a guy who was also big into basketball. He worked for the local NBA franchise as a water boy, basically. He would often be able to get me a single ticket, very good seats to home games. I almost always went alone. If I recall correctly, over the 2.5 years we dated and the 20 plus games I got to attend, I only was ever able to take someone else twice. I don't mind going alone. If anything, it made me fall in love with the game even more. Well, things ended with that boyfriend, and I met current boyfriend, male 31, 3 years later. When we first got together, it was the end of September, start of October, which is the start of the NBA season. My boyfriend's friends play fantasy basketball, but needed another player to fill out the league. I said if they couldn't find anyone else to play, I would like to try it. They laughed. I don't think they thought it was serious, but they didn't find another player, so they allowed me to join their league. I threw myself at it. Before, I just used to watch the games, but then I started listening to podcasts, following Reddit threads, Twitter accounts, reading articles, etc. I ended getting second place that first year, although it was close. They were pleasantly surprised with my success, but attributed it to being beginner's luck. Then they invited me to play football. I won. Again, they were surprised. I wanted to try fantasy baseball, and they have a league for that as well. I ended up in second place. I've competed 4 seasons in total between the 3 sports and have either gotten first or second place each time. Currently, my boyfriend and I are playing in a fantasy football and basketball league. I'm in second in one and tied for first in the other right now. Almost 2 weeks ago, I started playing DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports Betting, and I've been successful. Now Reddit, here is my problem. My boyfriend came home from work the other day and I was doing some work on the computer and had SportsCenter on quietly in the background. He sat me down and said he needed to ask me a serious question. Am I lesbian? I asked why he would think that. He said because of the fantasy sports. I was dumbfounded. It's a hobby to me. He may not be into it as much as me, but he has his own hobbies like working on cars and collecting action figures. I don't get the difference. His favorite sport is football. Before I started playing fantasy football, he would watch it with me. That doesn't happen anymore. He will no longer talk about sports with me, like at all. He just rolls his eyes, says he doesn't want to hear it, and changes the subject. I enjoy seeing his face light up when he talks about his hobbies. I engage and ask questions. It's cute to see him go dorky. Before you ask, we have a good sex life. When I first got into playing fantasy sports 2-ish years ago, I was also going through the process of being diagnosed with endometriosis. So I will admit, there was about 8 months of little intimacy, but it was because I was in pain and I feel like I was clear with him. That was why. I had surgery and have been pretty much pain-free since. This happened a few days ago and things just seem off. He keeps making jokes about it, and I don't find them funny. I think maybe his friends have been making fun of him because I've been doing significantly better than him. Maybe I am thinking too much into it. If not, how do I go about discussing this with him further?
Oh boy. So what we've got here is a classic case of insecurity in a man. When a man who's not completely secure with himself gets outmanned by a woman, that's a really hard thing for him to handle. And I'm sure his friends are giving him a hard time, as they should be, as any group of dudes would do to that dude. But if he was completely comfortable with himself and confident, he would just laugh it off and be like, yeah, she's way better than I am. You know what? You guys should start teaming up. Or asking how you're doing so well and learning from it if he wants to do better, because clearly you have a formula for success here. But that's not what he's interested in. He had his own thing, and you're doing that thing better than he is. Come to find out, it's your thing too, and he can't handle that. It is important in relationships to have things that are yours, but if that was a boundary that he had, that should have been communicated in the very beginning of this, and him saying, you know what, if you don't mind, I really just want to keep my friend fantasy sports thing just me. I want that thing to be mine. If he had communicated that in the beginning, that would be a different story, but he didn't. He seemed to be open to it at the time. It's not until you started doing better than him at everything that he really took offense to it. How the hell he translated this into you being gay is way beyond me. Cool, bro. Way to be a man. Call somebody gay when they outperform you. Let's look at this. Famous women's sports anchors. Erin Andrews, Thea Andrews, Heidi Androl, Debbie Antonelli, freaking Kay Adams. These are all women that could whoop your ass in fantasy sports because it interests them. They care about it enough to do research and
listen and communicate about it and pay attention. That's it. It doesn't have to be, oh yeah, Hannah Storm. She's on there too. You got to use that name. This is not a gender specific thing. It's not just dudes who love sports. Obviously, this guy is so insecure because you're doing better than him in something that's his. And that's a red flag. Cue him up. This is a signal to something that could be a bigger deal throughout your lives. If he is that insecure about this, what else is he going to be this insecure about? You need to start identifying those things now and think about how big of a problem will these be down the road. I don't know how to communicate this with him because I don't know that you can have an actual adult conversation with him at this moment. Right now, he's only able to communicate at the 12-year-old boy level. He called you gay for doing better than him in fantasy sports. You're not going to be able to have an adult conversation with this guy. And maybe that's the biggest red flag of all. But start looking at other things that he is insecure in or could be insecure in and think about what that's going to be forever. Better yet, talk to the friends. If somebody in his friend group said that and then he came and communicated it to you like it was his original thought, number one, it was a dumbass move. Bro's a bozo. But number two, then you have a problem with the friend group as well, which is only an issue because one path that I see here that would be really funny is that you go to the friend group and say, hey, I'm not going to be with this guy anymore, but I'd still like to play in this fantasy group. So if you guys end up breaking up and you keep whooping his ass for years and years and years at fantasy sports, I'm liking where that's going. Whooping his ass either way would force him to eventually come to terms with this insecurity in one way or another. Whether you guys are together or not, I think you keep going with this and you keep whooping his ass with it and you do not back down because this is a lesson this boy needs to learn. If he can learn it and grow from it, he can transform into a much better person, which he's going to need in life. If he can't, he's going to let this insecurity destroy any relationship he ever has. Or he's just got to go find him a girly girl that doesn't like sports and hope that she's not better than him at anything that he cares about. There's a recipe for success. Good luck with this guy. You need to do a serious look at everything that he's insecure about or could be insecure about and determine if this is something you want to put up with for the rest of your life. This is something that you really care about. So him.